šīs biļetes. Šajā gadījumā patiesi arī amatpersonām, deputātiem, ministriem būs jāpērk biļetes. Un es domāju, ka jebkurš, kas biļetes pirks arī uz šo pasākumu, būs jāpērk šīs biļetes. Šajā gadījumā patiesi arī amatpersonām, deputātiem, ministriem būs jāpērk biļetes. Un es domāju, ka jebkurš, kas biļetes pirks arī uz šo pasākumu,
This is in Portuguese though.
būs jāpērk šīs biļetes. Šajā gadījumā patiesi arī amatpersonām, deputātiem, ministriem būs jāpērk biļetes. Un es domāju, ka jebkurš, kas biļetes pirks arī uz šo pasākumu.
Yeah, Latvian.
Yes, I do. I have complete confidence in them.
Thank you. I'm not even gonna wait.
Het is met min 6,4% geopend. Dat is fors, heel erg fors. En dat is alleen nog maar de openingskoers, dus we moeten afwachten wat...
There we go.
Tai visada atsidursi ir būsi geras, nesvarbu kokioje srityje, bet jeigu atsiduri tokioje tamsioje vietoje, kur tau viskas pasidaro neįdomu, tai galbūt netyčia priimsi tokių sprendimų, kurie... Tai visada atsidursi ir būsi geras, nesvarbu kokioje srityje, bet jeigu atsiduri...
Yeah, it's Lithuanian. You can tell by the accent. Dutch does sound weird.
In the afternoon, it is going to stay mainly dry, a mixture of broken clouds.
Inshuro indwi zose buramatari w'intara ya Kayanza Aniseti Ndayizeye yasubiyemo iryo jambo rigabisha abazokwihenda bagasubira gusengera mu kibanza cy'ubusinde kiri muri komine.
I will be surprised if this is something else. Oh, we haven't even heard that language yet. Rwanda Rundi. I don't even know what that is. 100. Hanu high score. Dang.
Cũng theo hãng Reuters thì một loạt các vụ bắt giữ các quan chức cao cấp của chính phủ gần đây cho thấy là trình độ quản lý yếu kém.
Yeah, it's the accent again. I've heard this clip before. Or something similar. What was it from them? Is that Estonian? I know this language. Good boy is dead. Oh, it's Armenian. I know it sounds familiar, I just don't remember where it was from.
Zapravo kritiku Andreja Plenkovića i možda načina na koji vodi HDZ upravo zbog kako bi im se pljeskalo u crkvama. Mnogi su u tome prepoznali zapravo kritiku Andreja Plenkovića i možda načina na koji vodi HDZ upravo.
There you go.
Այսինքն 9-րդ կետը նախատեսում է արտահանձնում, 12-րդ կետը նախատեսում է ներման շնորհում կամ չշնորհում։ Այնուամենայնիվ
Nah. Apparently Armenian does not sound like what I thought it sounded like. That was a complete guess. Damn it. Yeah, that's the accent.
Konsistas il dexes parte suverenaj landoj. Germanio havas pli ol 80 milionoj da loĝantoj kaj post Rusio estas la due plej popolriĉa ŝtato de
Paris and France. Paris, France.
E adesso andiamo in Messico con Lorenzo Zanoni con Sultan Italia.
Well, it was not Russian, and it definitely was not English, so.
जिसका मतलब ये होगा कि अगर कोई legislation होती है या prime minister के खिलाफ तहरीक-ए-अदम में
Oh, they have a prime minister.
उस सूरत में तो Democratic Nationalist Unionist Party जो है
Persia does not have a prime minister.
लेकिन बाज़ाब्ता हुकूमत का हिस्सा नहीं होगी तो ये सूरत-ए-हाल शायद मंगल तक.
But then again, it kind of doesn't necessarily have to be about that country, but. There's some BBC News? What? Then again, I don't watch BBC News because I'm not in Britain, so.
Australië gebruikt nu het voorkeursstemmenstelsel voor het Huis van Afgevaardigden en de Senaatverkiezingen. Het Huis van Afgevaardigden wordt gekozen op basis van
Is it Dutch again?
aantallen. Australië is
I know it's not. Yeah, it's Dutch again.
Je gaat op 7 september naar de stembus voor de 44ste keer sinds de
Okay.
İstanbul'da 5 milyar dolara yakın vesayet dahil olurdu. Ve son açıklanan rakamlara göre son 6 ayda bu
Damn it! You think you know, and I don't.
મને સિવાય બહુ સરસ કહ્યું કે નેતૃત્વ એ પરમેનન્ટ છે એટલે પરમેનન્ટ મીન્સ કે એ ટેમ્પરરી કે થોડી વાર કામ કર્યું અને
Well, it's not Irish.
એ રીતનું નથી
I haven't heard Danish yet.
જવાબદારી છે
But I feel like Danish sounds different. Yeah.
Küsisime vene noorte käest, mida nemad sellest toimuvast arvavad. Noh, ei tulnud vastus üllatusena, eks peeti süüdlaseks ikka valitsus, kes on siis inimesi ärritanud neid.
Also, Arabic sounds different than what I thought it sounded like.
Küsisime vene noorte käest, mida nemad sellest toimuvast arvavad.
I want to say it's Estonian though.
Noh, ei tulnud vastus üllatusena, eks peeti süüdlaseks ikka valitsus, kes on siis
It is, yes.
Tagasi Vene välisministeeriumi väited nagu
I just want to get to level 2.
surma põhjustanud
That's all I want.
Eesti välisministeerium peab kahetsusväärseks, et avalduse väited on suunatud olukorra teravnemisele Eestis. Tagasi Vene välisministeeriumi väited nagu oleks Venemaa kodaniku Dmitri surma põhjustanud Eesti politsei. Eesti välisministeerium peab kahetsusväärseks, et avalduse väited on suunatud olukorra teravnemisele Eestis.
Damn it, it was Estonian. And that was Estonian too.
Todos los parámetros que tendríamos que estar trabajando para realmente poder dar.
Aproximativ 400 de persoane ne-au rugat să le alinăm singurătatea prin apeluri săptămânale, venite din partea operatorilor noștri specializați.
That's right.
Lulzim Basha duhet të japi sqarime në prokurori. Prokuroria duhet të marrë në pyetje Lulzim Bashën.
It's Albanian. Well, it didn't sound Portuguese, so I don't know.
Dr. Abichaan gara waraanaatti ramadamuun isaanii itti gaafatama isaanii jalqabaa akka ta'e ragaaleen isaanii ni agarsiisu.
What?
Hundeessamee jalqabee miseensummaa dhaabichaa keessa ka turan Dr. Abichaan gara waraanaatti ramadamuun isaanii
I don't even know what a Romo is.
Minister voor Dierenwelzijn Ben Wijts is tevreden dat het offerfeest rustig verlopen is. Er was veel kritiek gekomen
Dutch
op
again?
het verbod
I swear.
om onverdoofde slachten op tijdelijke slachtvloeren. Sommige vreesden
No, that's not Dutch.
Minister Wijts wil
It's gotta be
over de
Czech.
kwestie blijven praten met de
Alright.
moslimgemeenschap.
Yeah, it's Dutch again. Damn it. I wanted it to be something different, that's why. Okay, I wanted it to be something different. What?
Se ver se não existirá sentimento, ou pelo menos risco, como há pouco também dizia.
Just Portuguese.
بطبيعة الحال يعني نحن نتحدث عن أزمة يعني أصبحت تقريبا يعني من المجالات
die hart van democratie en wetgevende gezag was parlementaire gezag.
Lol, that's zero.
نتحدث عن أزمة يعني أصبحت تقريبا يعني من المجالات التي يمل الإنسان من الحديث عنها لأنها أزمة لتطول 10 سنة.
magana akwai wani abu da zan iya tunawa wani lokaci na ga wani bidiyon ka ina jin ko a gida.
It has to be Hausa. It was not the other three, so.
Първоначална информация, шофьорът на ТИР с софийска регистрация е загубил контрол над машината си по надолнището. Изпуснал е завод.
Bulgarian, yeah.
ባይታት ሆብ ዝብል ናይ ሃገራዊ ምርድዳእ ይኹን ዝብ ውሰድ ምልክት ኣይርእን
Ako Marciana ay indoman waren kaninin warkap huwag sa imay di balastang maanlags batar.
It's Afrikaans.
Sokukhuphulwa kweholo nguhulumende iningi labantu elisezibhedlela
Deble again.
Di antara 12 September hingga hari ini mengenai kertas siasatan berkaitan 1MDB masih berada dengan jabatan itu dan perbincangan sedang dijalankan.
Terreno di scontro e di polemica politica in queste ore è stata anche quell'ondata di maltempo che nella notte tra domenica e lunedì ha colpito l'Italia, ha portato un paio d'ore di neve a Roma, neve che poi questa notte... Terreno di scontro e di polemica politica in queste ore è stata anche...
La decretan de septembro inaugurigis en Tianjin la jarkundeno de novaj gvidantoj de la monda economia forumo în 2010.
사진을 찍어서 지자체에 신고하면 과태료의 최대 2.
Achteer perthyn y teulu ni, teulu'r Woods, yn priodi Lees, a pan ych chi wario rygbi, maen nhw'n talu geiriau o gwmpas y lle drwans. Perthyn y teulu ni, teulu'r Woods, yn priodi Lees, a pan ych chi wario rygbi, maen nhw'n talu geiriau.
Og nord, ellers stort sett oppholdsvær. Det blir ganske pent vær i Nord-Norge, men perioder med frisk bris langs kysten. Og så vil det dukke opp noen lokale ettermiddagsbyger på de indre strøk. Nord, ellers stort sett oppholdsvær. Det blir ganske pent vær i Nord-Norge, men perioder med frisk bris.
Oh my gosh, at this point like the language is starting to like switch in my mind. Like it's confusing me. That's why I'm getting them confused.
En alguna medida no puede haber un tema de velocidad, pero yo rescato que haya ratificado un rumbo. Cuando los gobiernos van a la mitad de su mandato y a veces están viviendo un momento de zozobra o se plantea una discusión sobre la aceleración de las medidas o qué tomar, por lo general algunos le asesoran que peguen volantazos. Yo creo que en alguna medida no puede haber un tema de velocidad, pero yo rescato que haya ratificado un rumbo. Cuando los gobiernos van a la mitad de su mandato y a veces están viviendo un momento de zozobra o se plantea una discusión.
Og det giver altså vældige kødannelser. I øjeblikket er der kødannelser helt tilbage, hvor 1,39
Danish. Said that again.
तीनों राज्यों से हमारे संवाददाता मतगणना और राज्य के सियासी माहौल का ताज़ा घटनाक्रम.
Ze zijn naar eigen zeggen zwaar gefolterd geweest, tot bekentenissen gedwongen. Ja, hij heeft dus eigenlijk geen eerlijk proces gekregen, omdat die folterpraktijk.
رئیس فراکسیون شفافسازی و سالمسازی اقتصاد و انضباط مالی میگوید درباره تعلل در نظارت بر شهرداری تهران در زمینه واگذاری املاک نجومی از نمایندگان خواسته.
I've heard Russian accents before. That's not Russian.
شفافسازی و سالمسازی اقتصاد و انضباط مالی میگوید درباره تعلل در نظارت بر شهرداری تهران.
Voetbalzone is wettelijk verplicht om toestemming te vragen voor het gebruik van cookies.
ნაპოლეონის სასამართლოს თავმჯდომარის მოადგილე, ჩინჩალაძის მოადგილე და ირაკლი შენგელია, რომელიც სამუდროულად არის საბჭოს წევრი, შეხვდა მოსამართლეს.
I've never heard Georgian. I have no idea what that sounds like.
El tema, como está expuesto en este informe, breve y todo, tiene la complejidad y
o advogado de Aldemir Bendini disse que o cliente dele não é culpado e que vai recorrer da decisão. Afirmou que a pena é alta demais, porque Bendini foi absolvido das acusações.
E adesso andiamo in Messico con Lorenzo Zanoni, consultant ECA Italia, per parlare di diritto del lavoro, in particolare.
Kada sam tek krenula u MMA, mislila sam da kilograme moram skidati poput drugih MMA boraca. Znači, da radim dietą.
Tai visada atsidursiu ir būsiu geras, nesvarbu kokioje srityje, bet jeigu atsiduri tokioje tamsioje vietoje, kur tau viskas pasidaro neįdomu, tai galbūt netyčia paimsiu tokių sprendimų, kurie... Tai visada atsidursiu ir būsiu geras, nesvarbu kokioje srityje, bet jeigu atsiduri tokioje tamsioje.
そして2年半ほどベヌーの周りにとどまって観測を行い、その間にベヌーの表面に接近して砂や石を最大で2キロ採取して2023年に小惑星ベヌーは45億年前に誕生したとされていますので、その砂や石はまさに過去の証拠です。
Oh, it sounds like both.
そして2年半ほどベヌーの周りにとどまって観測を行い、その間にベヌーの表面に接近して砂や石を最大で2キロ採取して2023年に地球に戻ってくる計画です。小惑星ベヌーは45億年前に誕生したとされていますので、
是個電影家嘅所在。你大陸之後呢，是到上海去工作做一個。
Yeah, that's Chinese.
Nefndin segir að ástæður bágrar
Because Japanese tend to have like a lower tone.
skuldsetningar og þess að tekjustofnar séu ekki full nýttir. Þá hafi sjóflutningar lagst af og fiskafla sé landað í færri höfnum en áður. Nefndin segir að ástæður bágrar fjárhagsstöðu hafna megi meðal annars rekja til of mikillar skuldsetningar og þess að tekjustofnar séu ekki full nýttir. Þá hafi sjóflutningar lagst af og fiskafla sé landað í færri höfnum en áður.
It's not Scottish.
Nefndin segir að ástæður bágrar fjárhagsstöðu hafna megi meðal annars rekja til of mikillar skuldsetningar og þess að tekjustofnar séu ekki full nýttir.
ईशान्य भारताशी माझा जो संबंध आहे हा 1991 साली ज्यावेळेला संघाने मला प्रचारक म्हणून मेघालयात पाठवलं तेव्हा सुरू झाला. मी 8 वर्ष मेघालयामध्ये प्रचारक राहिलो आणि मेघालयात मी संघाचं काम वाढवलं. परत
That's a guess.
제주 남부와 제주 산지에는 120mm 이상의 많은 비가 쏟아지겠고요. 충청과 호남, 경북 내륙에는 20에서 50.
I needed that like 1 second.
Premiere of The Boys Next Door, written by Tom Griffin and performed by.
閣僚折衝が行われる財務省の大臣室前です。閣僚折衝は午後1時過ぎから始まり。
Oh no! Yeah, the Chinese women and the Japanese women sound very similar. Damn it. They sound very similar. I cannot hear a difference between female Japanese and Korean Japanese. That's how similar they sound. I would need to understand what the languages are. Like, their accents are so similar. Like, the men I can figure out. The men are pretty easy. But the women... the women tend to have very, very similar accents. Like, just like that whole region, though.
חיתולים לילדים, ולא רק, אלא בכבוד ופרסום ואיזו יצירה עצמית פנימית, כך שזה תמיד נמצא שם. אבל שוב, זה אולי איזו אוטופיה כזאת, להגיד, אני עובד במשהו מאוד משמעותי.
That's not Spanish. Oh, it could be Haitian.
רוצה ליהנות, רוצה פרנסה, נכון? חיתולים לילדים, ולא רק, אלא...
But it sounds more... It doesn't sound Haitian, because Haitian is more French sounding.
תמיד נמצא שם.
And that's not French.
שוב, זה אולי איזו אוטופיה.
That sounds more... It's...
אני עובד במשהו מאוד משמעותי.
It sounds similar to Spanish, but it's not Spanish, because...
רוצה פרנסה, נכון? חיתולים לילדים, ולא...
I don't recognize any of those words.
בכבוד, פרסום, איזו יצירה עצמית פנימית, כך שזה...
It's Hebrew. Of course it's Hebrew.
Και όλα τα νεότερα και τις εξελίξεις στη συνέχεια του δελτίου μας. Να πάμε όμως αμέσως, κυρίες και κύριοι, στον Γιώργο Γεραφέντη, γιατί έχουμε έκτακτη...
Oh my gosh. I get this.
A un episodio que yo creo que preocupa especialmente y es justo transgredir los límites de la propia política.
คุณผู้ชมคะระยะนี้จะเห็นพลเอกประยุทธ์จันทร์โอชานายกรัฐมนตรีนั้นให้ความ
I don't need to think twice about that one.
அந்த பொது உடைமை தன்மை என்பது காங்கிரஸ் கட்சியில் எப்பவுமே உள்ள இருக்கக்கூடிய ஒன்றுதான் முறையோடு
See, I'm learning.
Pa je kasnije pretvoreno u pozorište, ali baš u vreme kad smo mi došli u zgradu 2000. godine, i to je inače dosta poznato, zove se Schauspielhaus, što je inače Schauspielhaus je reč.
Kind of.
Če bi vključeni i del od drugega od komisijite, vidiki nekako mora da se uspostavi.
زندانیان افغانستانی در ایران بیشتر مهاجرانی بودند که از سالها بدین سو در این کشور زندگی می‌کنند و بیشترشان به اتهام قاچاق انسان، مواد مخدر یا زندانیان افغانستانی در ایران بیشتر مهاجرانی بودند که از سالها بدین سو در این کشور زندگی می‌کنند و
Operasi
Almost learning.
itu membabitkan 130 anggota polis trafik dari Ibu Pejabat Polis Bukit Aman, trafik kontingen Johor dan Terengganu sebagai usaha untuk mengurangkan kadar.
På den mottagelsen. Jeg tror alle gleder seg både til å høre talen, men kanskje enda mer til å komme i gang med de politiske diskusjonene, spille fotball.
Oh, football. Of course it is football.
Siamo in conclusione, tra poco la linea va a cronache con Raffaella Di Rosa, si tornerà a parlare della situazione e del...
Exacte, o sigui, allò que va decidir la mesa doncs me'n faig responsable, perquè és dins del Parlament, no? I d'alguna...
Rion olympialaisissa tuli vain yksi mitali, sekin pronssinen.
በዋናነት በማህበራዊ ሚዲያ ላይ በሰፊው እየተሽከረከረ ያለው ምስልም እየወጣ ያለው ነቀምት ላይ
I don't know what that one was.
Those who choose not to do that both make a financial benefit from undercutting their competitors.
That's a strong English. Right, that's...
But also show reckless disregard for both.
Reckless disregard for both.
Those who choose not to do that both make a financial benefit from undercutting
Benefit.
competitors, but also show reckless disregard for both the public,
Disregard.
locally, and the environment generally.
Is that Scottish accent?
Those who choose not to do that both make a financial benefit from undercutting their competitors,
No.
but also show reckless disregard for both the public, locally, and the environment generally.
No, it's not Scottish. It's more... It's like... That might be British. That might be English. Whatever. Like, you know what I mean.
I think there's a sort of a balancing item of things here. On the one hand, you could say, typical economist stuff, on the one hand, we've got a strong jobs market.
Australian. Oh, I guess I could have looked at the source. Whatever. That was Australian. Too late. What?
हृदयाचे विकार आता आपण लहान वयामध्ये बघतो म्हणजे अनकॉमन असं नाही म्हणत पण
Jamais muitas valdārpšķis iš tikrųjų, nu, mokėjai sokties, turėjai daug krūvą vakų ir reikėjo pamaitīt.
এবং তাদের মাধ্যমে আমরা জানতে পেরেছি নির্বাচন কমিশন সচিবালয় এবং কমিশনের
I don't even know why I said that was Danish.
Ekhuluma lentathelisa izindaba zemidlalo ekupheleni komdlalo umqeqeshi weqembu le-Chicken Inn uJoey Antipas utshayele
That was lost to me.
Allò que va decidir la mesa doncs
que a sentença atesta pagamento contínuo de vantagem indevida, o que justificaria a
Det kan bli plass til kanskje 1000 studenthybler på tomten, og det mener han det burde bygges, for det å bygge mange studentboliger.
যোগদান করেছি এবং তাদের মাধ্যমে আমরা জানতে পেরেছি নির্বাচন কমিশন সচিবালয় এবং কমিশনের কি ধরনের অবস্থান আছে তাদের যোগ্যতা তাদের
Pro mene je mnogo što naravno nisam ni prvi ni posljednji roditelj, svako ko se ostvario u toj ulozi.
No, of course it is.
Tot kort heb ik dat ook gecombineerd eigenlijk met een job bij de haven van Antwerpen, waar ik vroeger secretaris was bij het havenbedrijf. Vanaf het burgemeesterschap heb ik daar ook een stap moeten terugzetten naar projectadviseur.
Unkosazana Placetis Manyangadze uthi unzima osesibhedlela njalo labonke abalali
Might have done that on purpose.
እንደምታውቀው ጅቡቲና የወደቡን የሚያስተዳድረው
Switcheroo.
አለመግባባት ላይ ደርሰው የጅቡቲ መንግስት የዱባዩን ኩባንያ ኮንትራት አቋርጧል። በዚህም ምክንያት በሁለቱ መካከል
isimo esisezibhedlela
Multaj birdoj estas bredetaj de homoj pro ovoj, viando aŭ kiel ornamaĵoj kaj amikoj. Ofte tio gravas laŭ ekonomia vidpunkto. Foje
คุณผู้ชมคะระยะนี้จะเห็นพลเอกประยุทธ์จันทร์โอชานายกรัฐมนตรีนั้นให้ความ
და ოჯახის ყველა წევრისათვის დამახასიათებელი ღირსების და თანასწორი და განუყოფელი უფლებების აღიარება წარმოადგენს თავისუფლების
And Jordan. Damn it.
Je dagelijks gedroomde ventsekken de mappie en alle je van Agus gedit bagger die we hebben.
That's Scottish.
Մեկ հավելումով առայն որ սահմանադրական լիազորությունների ամբողջական իրականացմանը զուգահեռ
Cultuurleroen benahilpi rol uchtran chommerhe mar chon la namsherhe. Agus glaculeroeni setramahe in Irfi.
E ali a gente percebe, Fadenberg, não só que a situação das
越南等12個國家嘅貿易談判代表喺星期一達成咗。
As 6 foram libertas depois de uma denúncia anônima. Elas tinham televisão, banheiro, piso de porcelanato.
Just 14 minutes.
Tuolla konkluissa lukee
So
myös niin,
close.
että todetaan, että jokaisella maalla on vapaus määritellä ulkopolitiikkansa ja liittolaissuhteensa. Onko tämä viesti?
Let's finish.
هاوكات كۆمەڵی
Okay, one more round.
لە شاری دومای گۆمارە
Last round.
وڵاتن و توێنە رووسیا هێشتا وەڵامی ئەو پێشنیاری نەداوەتەوە کە هێزەکانی ئەپۆزیسیۆن و هاوڵاتیە مەدەنیەکانی
It's Kurdish. I don't know why I said German.
Klesla teplota během noci pod minus 2 stupně. Odpoledne už bylo na šumavských pláních výrazně tepleji. Při porovnání s mrazivým ránem...
پۆلیسی بەریتانیا دەڵێت لە دوایین ئەنجامی لێکۆڵنەوەکانی دا سەبارەت بە هەوڵی کوشتنی
se iba i oštivlja od Beograda, a onda su 71.
وحضرتك قلت لهم هاتوا البت اللي اسمها بدرية دي
Fine. One more. Last one.
Kjer tudi sami prodajajo so prisotni. Se pravi, je logika tega, ki oglašujejo, zelo normalna.
Slovenia. Darn it.
Amma yanzu na ji kana magana batun idan shugaban kasa bai tsaya takara ba ko ce ba zai tsaya ba har kana
星期五傍晚呢，美
Dans le même temps, les députés ont donné le coup d'envoi hier à la réforme du Code du travail. Ils ont débuté l'examen.
De la debut și până în prezent au fost trimite aproximativ 3400 de
لەسی کەسەوە بۆ 20 و ئەمەش لە نوێترین ڕێوشێنی هاوپەیمانیەتەکە بۆ کەمکردنەوەی ئەو شاندەی کە پێشتر یەکێکبوون لە گەورەترین شاندەکان لە هاوپەیمان.
It's Kurdish again.
Det er en fantastisk følelse å sparke i gang den andre sommerleiren på Utøya.
先日関西弁と東京弁に関するニュースがネット上で話題になった。それによると近年
Statlig kjempenyskipsparing til markedet nu, her kan ju 3 millioner kroner.
Oh, it's Scottish. I've never actually heard. Well, I wouldn't say never, but I haven't heard Scottish actually. Scottish Gaelic specifically. I was in a region that spoke English, so when I visited in Scotland, so no one was speaking Gaelic. I mean, I believe Gaelic is a dying language. It's not necessarily dead yet, but it's dying. As in, people aren't really learning it as much. English is killing all the languages. That was interesting. That was fun because there were a lot of languages that I had never heard of. A lot of languages that I'd never heard of. And then there's also some accents that I thought that I knew, and then it wasn't. Some language that I thought I knew what it sounded like, but it didn't. It wasn't. Which is interesting because there's certain stereotypes and certain, like a lot of it was that I could easily figure out some of the accents. A lot of it was the accents that helped. Like the one where I got 260. Most of that, I would say, probably 60% of that was from knowing the accent. Some of the 20% would be for guessing, and 20% would be for I actually knew it. You can notice certain patterns. Like some languages sound very similar. Some languages that are in certain areas, countries in certain areas, they sound very similar. In fact, some of those languages sounded very similar to Spanish, but I knew it wasn't because I know, I'm pretty good at knowing what is Spanish, since I did learn it. There are some, like that one with the Japanese and Chinese, right? It's Japanese and Chinese, yeah. See, there are certain areas of China and certain areas of Japan where the females sound almost identical. Like I wouldn't be able to tell you what the difference between their accents are. It's definitely interesting to look at this stuff. It's interesting. Yeah, I'm I'm from the United States of America. We pretty much only speak English, and we don't really hear accents or different languages. Every once in a while here, obviously, we have a lot of Hispanics. I'll hear Chinese, Korean accents. Not really French, although I did have that one French friend a long time ago. It's been a while. Like, you don't really hear different accents where I am. In fact, you don't even hear, like, Southern accents or New England. I'm in that area where there's not a lot of different accents. And there's not a lot of different languages that are being spoken. So while you guys might find it a little bit easier to know what certain languages are, some of these I have never heard in my entire life. Never. So doing it on the fly, trying to figure out and learn what the languages sound like, that's very hard. Especially when I don't even know what the language is called. Like, there are certain languages like Aroma or whatever, and Nibdevle or whatever, that I've never heard of. I've heard of Scottish Gaelic. I've heard of Armenian. I've heard of a bunch of those. But there are certain ones that I just don't know. If I don't even know the country or the language, how am I supposed to guess based on what they're saying? Like, I don't know what it's supposed to sound like. And there's certain ones that I might have known, but I was kind of doubting myself because after hearing so many languages in a row, it gets confusing. Like, certain languages sound very similar to the point where it's like, I know the clip. What was it? Yeah, that was interesting. It was fun. How long have we been doing this even? An hour and 12 minutes of this? Really? Okay. Oh, dang. Been doing this for a while. Let me think. And I also have to remember, and I kind of forgot, that I have to keep in mind that not all of these are actually from the native country. Like, a lot of these, especially like English and I think Irish also, a lot of them were from different countries. So not all of them were based on an accent. Some of them were based on different areas where they're from. It just really depends. I mean, English could mean anything. It could be from Australia. It could be from the United States. It could be from, England. It really depends. I mean, there's no... And similarly, some of these languages are also spoken in areas. Now, English is more of a... It's more globalized than most languages. So, it's a little bit hard... Well, it's a little bit easier to know. Well, yeah, that's English. I know words in English. I know English, obviously. And then the accents. Well, the accents don't really matter since it's just guessing the language. I know that's English. And that covers. In fact, English is kind of the main. It's the main English. Oh my gosh, it's the main language in Canada, United States. England, obviously. Scotland, kind of. Most people speak English in Scotland. I would say Irish is pretty strong. Irish is still a pretty dominant language in their country, so it really depends on what area. Australia. New Zealand, I don't know. I think New Zealand does prominently speak English. There's some other countries where they prominently speak English, but don't necessarily, it doesn't have to be their main language, but they still do speak English. So even going to Scotland and going to England, I still heard the same languages. No one spoke, no one spoke Scottish Gaelic when I was there. At least no one that I encountered, anyways. So even going to Scotland, I only know the accent. I don't know, or at least the accents that I heard, anyways. I don't necessarily know the language. Yeah. You're covering it. Yeah, I was pretty much in the city. I was in Edinburgh. Yeah, I was pretty much in, like, I don't know. Let me get a map. I mean, I heard Scottish accents. I didn't really hear anyone on, like, the streets, in the streets, like, speaking Scottish Gaelic. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I said earlier, since you came in, I said Gaelic is kind of, well, it's kind of dying out. Especially around the cities, there's a lot of tourists also, you have to keep that in mind. A lot of people moving to Scotland or to England, and they don't speak Gaelic. They grew up speaking English. So, of course, they're going to be, bringing that with them, too. Yeah, it's more like Edinburgh. I think we spent, like, a day in Glasgow. We did, like, one day where we traveled to the Highlands, but obviously, I didn't really encounter anyone there. Just the other tourists with me. But, yeah, I mean, in my area, I've heard English, Spanish, Chinese, Korean, Japanese, and that's pretty much it. I mean, pretty much everyone where I live speaks English. So I'm not really exposed to that many languages. In fact, I'm not really exposed to any languages. I don't know. Even Portuguese, I've never heard Portuguese, actually. Now that I think about it. If we hear that type of language, you're hearing Spanish. I've encountered one Italian, but he wasn't Italian, he was just speaking, he accidentally spoke Italian at an Olive Garden, but I understood what he was saying. Because Spanish and Italian is very similar in vocabulary-wise. I mean, obviously there's differences, but they're kind of similar. But it wasn't enough for me to understand what the language sounds like. The only real, like, Italian that I know is from TV shows, and those aren't always the most accurate because they have actors from England and the United States impersonating impersonating Italian accent, which is different. When I hear Italian, when I think of Italian, I associate the stereotypical Italian accent. I don't necessarily know the language and what real Italian sounds like. So, yeah. Anyways, an hour and 12 minutes of doing this. Let's see, what time is it? 2:08. I should have lunch. Yeah, it's definitely interesting. There are definitely a lot of languages that I don't know and still don't know yet. I mean, I guess that's in one way a challenge that people who live in only English speaking countries, pretty much at least, you know, you're not really gonna hear that many different languages. So, Twitch is pretty slow today because I know they've been having loading issues and it's also earlier than normal. So I'm just gonna host, I think. Yeah, I'll just host, eat lunch, maybe come back on later. Twitch is definitely very slow today. I know they had loading issues. This is also not my normal times. So I'm just gonna host a fellow member of Streamers Connected. Yeah, I'm gonna host Flintbox. Anyways, thank you guys so much for stopping by. Hope to see you guys in the future. Let the place for time right for you guys are amazing. Peace out and have a good day. I'll catch you guys next time on the Flame TV. Peace out and stay awesome, guys. It's been a blast. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. Hope to see you guys in the future. Peace out and thanks for watching. Bye bye.